I'm
Yeah.
curious about, you mentioned, I believe, the bubonic plague, and sort of ending that second chakra. And what's the word for enjoyment of just earth's pleasures? Hedonic.
Hedonism.
Hedonism. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So the plague came and sort of reset things, and we had the Dark Ages. Um, but how does this tie in with taking God outside of the self? Because I'm kind of curious about the progression of history and sort of the human, what we're creating. When did that happen?
That was the beginning of like the extreme takeover of the patriarchal society. That was the beginning of like owning everything for Christ, right? And the puritanical surge that came out of um, seeing the hedonism, right? I think about King Solomon, who came before Christ, right? He had sacred prostitution. He had women who gave their body to the church, and wives would send their men to the church
Oh
and
yeah,
sleep
I,
with these women so that
I remember
they could
reading
actually have
in the
fertility.
I think it's like the first book in the Bible where they're talking about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He used the power of sexuality, because within our sexuality, which is something that with this with the vocal transformation, we actually go into the second chakra and our major issue around sexuality. But sex is one of the greatest medicines that the human can bring into the world. Orgasm is healing, and it's an opening of a portal. It's an opening of a portal of cosmic consciousness through the body, and it's a merging of these two incredible intelligences, and it can heal a lot. But what it really does is it brings a surge of cosmic life force energy in through the embodiment. And so normally that surge would bring a baby, right? It's enough of a surge that new life emerges. But if you don't get impregnated and you're not bringing another human life in, the mere act of orgasm brings life to the planet beyond just humanity. And the ancient tantric texts talk about this a lot, but King Solomon, which is not tantra at all, knew this, right? And he used to have these orgies, these group sex acts, to ritualistically bring in that energy, so that crops would grow, animals would multiply, that the whole society would thrive off of this energy that would move through the act of orgasm, right? If only the human race understood how precious and beautiful orgasm is, and what it
How did
actually
you
means to have
how
a
did
real
you
one.
learn this? How did you learn that about King Solomon? Where is that?
I took a course a while ago around sacred prostitution. Yeah, I
Oh,
took a course at the Growing Heart Sanctuary. It was wonderful. The lover, the priestess. It was like we went into understanding this word that we find so dirty, prostitution, and the sluts, and like just what we do around sexuality when someone is exploring and experiencing that energy. And there is a major issue in our second chakra where there's so much trauma and there's so much wound that sex has become a transmutation device instead of a transformation device, right? So, sex is designed to be a transformational, beautiful, alchemical process. But when we're having sex with each other through a wounded self, we're taking a pain body that's living inside of our second chakra and we're moving it into something that's pleasurable. And we're also hurting each other in that process. We hurt ourselves more and we hurt each other more. In Tantra, they talk about this thing called the fiendess. When a woman has been violated or has been mistreated during the act of sex, doesn't have to be rape. It could just be, no foreplay, no love, just like you get in the hole and then you're done, and then the husband goes to sleep or the boyfriend goes to sleep, or you're like, bye, nice to know you. And I mean, this happens more and more than I really want to admit about my beautiful human race, but it happens a lot. Where it's just done for the visceral animal aspect and there's no real connection, which is what it's designed for. This energy gets stuck inside of the woman's second chakra, and it creates this thing they call the fiendess, which is an egregore of sorts, or an energy body that literally wants to destroy. So women will become vicious. And the first act of viciousness is towards the self, because it's in the self, but then it becomes the projected viciousness outward. And it's so tragic. I actually, another not very popular stance here, because I support and love my women completely, and I'm 100% with the Me Too movement as far as women needing to vocalize when these lines are being crossed. But I see it very clearly with the Me Too movement that the female wants to tear the man down, right? This is ancient wisdom at play here, as I see it. Yes, they've been mistreated. We've been mistreated. Yes, we have been used, and we've been put those ceilings on us, and they've made us feel like we are not as powerful, and this needs to be rectified. I don't think that rectifying it is actually tearing down the power of the man. I think it's going to come with healing. That's the only way it's going to come. How do we actually rehabilitate an issue, right? How do we actually nurture the divine masculine instead of always talking about toxic masculinity? We have to instead bring it into the divine, which every man possesses. So when I see the women tearing the man down, it's just very non-feminine to me. It's very unnatural.
Mhm.
We are the nurturers. The female is the nurturer. We are the life givers. We support life. We create life within our womb. We bring life. And whether that's in a child or not, that's how the feminine is on the earth. We are the nurturing force, right? So when you see this interplay where there is toxic masculinity, where there should be divine masculinity, right? The female, that's the wounded one. This is not her fault. I'm not blaming us. I mean, this is just a natural thing, right? It's our instinct is no, right? And we are powerful, and we will tear you down. That is showing up as a second chakra problem, right? We need to move through that so that we can actually heal ourselves and each other, and then move all that energy up towards the heart, which is where it's dying to go. It is dying to get to unconditional love. And that's why our religions are showing us that, right? God, the unconditional love of Christ that lives within our own being when we allow all of this to heal so that we can move up through, right? So we come out of the second chakra and we move into third chakra, which is the separate sense of self. So Puritanism comes out of that time, right? And this idea of like isolation and sex only for procreation, and we can't enjoy this, we just have to like do this. Of course, everyone's still out there doing their things behind the closed doors because now it's a sin, and now you have to like hide it, right? But still, no, it's just marriage for procreation, and it's just everything's got to be super pure, and you have to prove yourself. You have to prove yourself that you're okay. You have to control yourself, and you have to, whatever. And then in that solar plexus where guilt and shame and all that lives, if you can't control your natural animal instincts. And so we're here right now in a very big way, the development of our ego and who we think we are, and our idea of who we are, right? And that's all solar plexus work. And as I see right now with all of the arguments that we're having, we're seeing the vaxxed and the non-vaxxed, we're seeing the Republicans and the Democrats, we're seeing the race wars, we're seeing all of this like isolation and separation. And yes, it's all very valid to what's happening, but what it's breeding is more of a distance. It's breeding more of a separation from each other. It's from a self-loathing that's creating an outward loathing. And literally, the third chakra is pulling apart. Our ego identity is becoming so strong that during this time of COVID, families are falling apart, friendships are ending, communities are breaking apart over differing ideas over what is going on, right? This is all ultimately to lead us to the heart chakra, because plagues come to the human race to wake us up, right? And so right now it's painful and it hurts. Nobody sees me, nobody appreciates me, nobody understands me, you're not like me, right? And that at some point, that pain is going to get so severe that we're not going to have a choice but to move on from that, right? So I know it's hard right now for everybody, but I see the next step, which is ultimately after the solar plexus, this ego breaks. There's only one place to go, and it's back to connection. It's back to our heart center. It's back to love.